actual object. It doesn't reset it, which is an advanced physics setting now. So you see when I go to move it over here, baby toy turned on. It uses the center mass of the default, not where the controller is. When I'm applying force up here, it's moving it from there, and you get this kind of effect. It's hard to bring it up over the edge. But if you are normally setting the center mass, and you go to bring it up over the edge, it'll rotate with it, because it's gripping off at this point now. And I thought that was pretty important. I really like having them behave a little bit more naturally over edges like this. Although the physics body on this is pretty terrible, so it's not going to be perfect. You can turn it off to use your own center mass that you set. For instance, if you have like a grip like this that you use, you might go ahead and go into the model and turn it off entirely. Let me turn on my kid's toy. One sec. Alright. So, if you have, like, say, a sword, and you know you're always going to use the same center mass on a sword, then... Oh, I have a setting wrong on this. Okay, anyways. And you know you're always going to use the same center mass on a sword, then you could set the center mass to the hilt and have a socket near the hilt. Never have to deal with setting that. Every time you grip it, just have the correct center mass. But for normal objects, I'm now setting the center mass to where you grip like that, so it gets that proper behavior. Another thing I did is there's been something that's bugged me a lot, which is gravity affects physics constraints. So when you pick them up, they're slightly offset by the force of gravity. So if I'm taking this and I'm just clicking the button over and over, see how it's dropping over time? That's because every time I initiate a physics constraint, it's getting the influence of gravity on it, which sets it a little lower unless the physics constraint is extremely strong. So you just get that minor little tiny offset, and that always bugged me. So what I did now is I set options for advanced physics to turn off gravity entirely for the physics grip. So when you do it now, it just stays in place. You see that? The only difference is my hand wobbling when I pick it up, when I click the trigger. This also has some other benefits, like it's a little less floaty on fast movements, because it doesn't have that applied additional force. And I mean, there's no real reason not to use it for like weapons and stuff like this. It's when you are going to do something like, a loose constraint on like a mace or something that needs to swing freely, that you wouldn't want to do that because you wouldn't have the effect of gravity on it. At the same time as I went in to do the gravity changes, I also made it so that on server-side movement, which I don't think anyone's using, it now records the original gravity setting for the object. It wasn't doing that before, and I don't think it was ever noticed because nobody uses server-side movement because the engine doesn't really support it. And eventually I hope to create a movement component for any object if Epic doesn't get around to it soon. But it solves that, so now it stores the original gravity setting for the component and reapplies it or as it should at the end of the grip. And that would have been an issue if somebody was doing server-side movement with like a low grav environment where it could get disassociated, but now it can't happen. Lever components in C++ are almost done. I mean, they essentially work. I just need to debug them and make the logic-driven one, so just the physics one, because this is a physics one here. The logic-driven one will work better on like a gun or something attached to it rather than another physics body. 4.17 is working pretty good. There is a minor problem with scaling physics bodies because they've added a console command that batches physics commands until later in the frame, so it can do like up to 3 at once, 8 at once, whatever. And it unfortunately gets in the way of instantly setting physics transforms. and I haven't found a way around it. I've turned off their console command, and it still batches somewhat, or at least delays the operation. And I don't know. I've submitted a bug report about it to see if this is intended behavior or not, because it breaks a few things. But the majority of the plugin functionality works, and the only thing that it actually gets in the way of is a scaling grip of a physics simulating object, which this isn't. So I mean, this just works as is. So the only time you'd really have a problem is if you had like a gun and you were scaling it. It's gonna lag right now because of that new setting that they added in 4.17. And I'm not sure it's intended how it's currently behaving. It seems like the physics body gets locked when you try to perform the scaling operation, and it doesn't get unlocked until later in the frame when it actually performs the operation. At least that's what it feels like, because you get some weird stutter that you shouldn't be getting, even if it's not working instantly. But I'm still working at the plugin. I've had some slowdowns, do some bug testing in 4.17, having a few caveats that got in the way. I am planning on doing a tutorial video, probably about gameplay tags, since they're now integral to this, at least the template. And then, I don't know, I'll take suggestions for future tutorials past that. I'd like to get some of my to-do list done after 4.17 releases. So, I mean, I'll let people know what I'm working on after that. Overall, plugin's been fairly stable for a while now. I'm decently happy with it. I'm getting some of my wish list items all the way, like the center mask change and everything. So, I don't know. I'll see you around.